So we're just waiting for some attendees to come into the meeting. We don't currently have any online right now. Here we have
Brandon, this is Bob.
Hey Bob, we just started the presentation. We're waiting for the attendees to populate into the room. So for those that are in the room already, I'd like to say hello and welcome to the MT200 Bridge Preservation Project Virtual Open House. We're going to give it just a few more seconds here to see if there's anybody else that is trying to attend, and then we will get started with the presentation. Thank you. All right, I think we're okay to get going now. So my name is Brandon Coates. I'm the Public Involvement Manager with RBCI, and our company's helping MDT with the public information outreach on this project. And we will also be helping facilitate today's meeting. During this online session, MDT and the project team members are going to provide a background of the project, talk about the project design plans, the schedule, and the next steps. Following the presentation portion, a live question and answer session will be held to answer your questions. In order to participate in the Q&A, I'd like you to try and locate the Q&A button that's on the bottom of your screen. And once you click on that, it'll pop up a box to allow you to type in and submit questions. You can submit those questions at any time during the presentation. We will hold all questions and answer them all together at the end after the presentation. So this online session and the one that we will be conducting at 6 p.m. will both be recorded, and a copy of that recording will be posted on the project website. I'll show that project website URL at the end of the presentation as well. I'd like you to invite your neighbors, coworkers, or friends that couldn't attend to go ahead and view that presentation or join us at 6 p.m. for this evening's presentation. Both presentations will show identical information. And so now I'd like to turn over the microphone to the MDT Missoula District Bridge Engineer, Dwayne Wilson. Dwayne?
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, my name is Dwayne Wilson, and I am the Missoula Bridge Area Engineer. My role is to manage, develop bridge designs done by the Montana Department of Transportation, or MDT for short. MDT's mission is to serve the public by providing a transportation system and services that emphasize quality, safety, cost effectiveness, economic vitality, and sensitivity to the environment. MDT maintains a staff with the resources and technical expertise needed to perform the workload for the majority of the state's transportation projects. When MDT does not have the resources or technical expertise in-house, MDT hires consultants for specific project work. Consultants are an extension of the MDT staff, capable of providing additional skills, experience, expertise, and quality work without increasing in-house staff. They are managed by the MDT consultant design engineer and work together with the MDT project team and management to deliver the project. So next, I'm going to ask each of the team members to unmute and introduce themselves and their role in the project. Bob Vosen.
Sorry, everybody, I was struggling to get the mute, unmute button to work properly there. Thanks. My name's Bob Vosen. I'm the district administrator for District 1 with the Montana Department of Transportation. And I'm involved with all of the construction and maintenance projects in the area. So my role in this is just to help shepherd the projects and determine kind of some priorities and stuff. So I just want to take a moment. I know everybody's busy. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join with us, to visit with us, and ask that kind of share the information you hear, and also to feel free to ask questions at the end, because that's the key to this whole thing, is just share information and make sure everybody's comfortable with what our plan is going forward. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Next, Ben Rickman.
Yeah, my name is Ben Rickman. I work for MDT in the Consultant Design Bureau. My role in this project is project manager on the MDT side of things. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Brent Schiller.
Yeah, my name is Brent Schiller. I'm with Forest Green Associates. We're the consultant on the project, and my role is the project manager for our company on this project. And I'll also be talking about some of the bridge-related work that'll be occurring on this project a little bit later.
Thanks, Brent. Dan Gars.
My name is Dan Gars. I'm an engineer in training with Forest Green Associates. My role in the project is a roadway engineer.
Thanks, Dan. Pat Wickman.
Hi, my name is Pat Wickman. I'm an environmental scientist with Forest Green Associates. I was responsible for the environmental compliance on the project.
Thanks, Pat. Brandon Coates.
Good afternoon again. I'm Brandon Coates. I'm with RBCI, and we are helping MDT in the project team with the public outreach, public involvement, and I will be the initial point of contact on the project.
Thanks, Brandon. Andy Barnes.
Thanks, Dwayne. My name is Andy Barsness. Along with Brandon, I work in public involvement for the project for RBCI.
Thanks, Andy. So next, I'm going to just give a little bit of background on the MDT Bridge Bureau. The MDT Bridge Bureau is tasked with keeping Montana's bridges safe, resilient, economical, and reliable. The Bridge Bureau is organized into two sections: the Bridge Management section and the Bridge Design section. MDT's Bridge Management section provides condition inspection and load rating evaluation for over 4,500 public bridges in the state, which includes state, county, and city-owned bridges. The Bridge Management section also evaluates and analyzes overweight permit loads and performs bridge maintenance on state-owned bridges. MDT's Bridge Design section provides design and engineering management on bridge replacement, rehabilitation, and preservation projects. The Bridge Design section also establishes and maintains design criteria and standards, participates in research projects, and promotes designs to improve bridge performance and value. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ben Rickman.
Oh, thanks, Dwayne. MDT is in the final stages of developing improvements to the Montana 200 bridge that is located 2 miles south of Knoxon over the Montana rail link tracks. The bridge is safe to drive on, but it was constructed in 1957, and it's in need of repairs and routine upkeep. MDT partners with Forest Green Associates to identify the needed repairs that will extend the life of this bridge and be the best return on our investment. I will turn it over to Brent Schiller with Forest Green Associates to tell you a little more about the project.
Thanks, Ben. So want to talk a little bit about the process and the anticipated schedule. So as you can see in this slide, the project is being designed in 2 phases. Phase 1 being the evaluation phase, and then phase 2 being the design phase. The evaluation phase started in 2020 It included office review of existing plans, inspection reports, and other data provided by MDT. And then we sent out some staff to do field evaluations of the bridge. And then that information from those office and field evaluations, it was all put together, carefully considered to develop a repair and rehabilitation needs. And that was documented in a bridge report. Those draft findings and recommendations were presented to the public in fall of 2020 in a very similar format as this. So now we're in the design phase, which began in 2021, and we anticipate that to be completed in 2023. So in this phase, we're developing the design plans for the recommended improvements, and the intent of today's meeting is to share what we're planning on doing and gather public comment to finalize those plans. The current schedule suggests that the earliest construction could occur is in 2025. However, that is dependent on availability of funding, and the actual year will be scheduled once the design plans are finalized and funding is determined. Next slide, please. So now we'll talk about evaluating the bridges. As we said earlier, Forest Green's a consultant that was tasked with evaluating the current condition of the bridge. This was done by reviewing the past inspection reports to get a history, and then again, going out the field to assess its current condition. As part of that field work, our team not only looked at the bridge, but also at the needed traffic control so that we can perform the repair work, and also looked at potential environmental impacts, and also some, if there was any upgrades needed to the guardrail at the bridge ends to make sure safety is maintained. We also spoke with local MDT maintenance staff. They have to do the year-to-year maintenance on the bridge, and they probably know a lot more of the issues than we could determine in one visit. So we talked with them, and they provide some very valuable input. All that information was used, determined whether we should repair the deck in place or if we need to replace it. So I want to talk about those, I guess those two real briefly. So if we patched it and replaced, we kind of call that patch and overlay type of repair. And that involves removing unsound concrete. And that's kind of basically potholes in the driving surface of the deck. It's where it's concrete's popped up and just, you know, and then you'll see the patches in there as you saw in some of the photos earlier. If it's got a lot of those conditions happening and the majority of the deck is really in bad shape, then we'll do a full deck replacement. That's a complete removal of the driving surface, or what we call the bridge deck, and then we'll replace it with a brand new reinforced concrete deck. So based on the actual bridge evaluations, input from the public, maintenance, we're going to move ahead with a full replacement of the bridge deck. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little more about that. I mean, if you look at this photo, that kind of tells the story. There's a lot of obvious patches. There's potholes, whatever you want to call them. So we're going to move ahead with that full replacement. Our field crews, when they went out there, they did a sounding test, which we call chaining. Essentially, you can hear the areas that are broken up and are going to start popping off that you can't visually see. And when we did that, between what you can see and what we can hear, it's about 77% what we call delaminated, which is that those potholes are going to happen potholes. So that's given that information, we determined that the most cost-effective repair is a full deck replacement. So we know this is a very vital component to those traveling in this area. There's not an easy detour. So we are going to provide one lane of traffic during construction to keep traffic moving through there. And I'm going to turn this over now to Dan Gars to discuss that.
Thank you, Brent. So I'd like to start the traffic control portion of this presentation by first stating that we are not closing this bridge. In addition to not closing the bridge, access to Government Mountain Road on the southeast side of the bridge and access to the mill on that southeast corner will remain open. The construction described previously by Brent Schiller in the last few slides will limit traffic to one lane. And to control that traffic, we will be utilizing temporary traffic signals and/or flaggers throughout the construction process. For a majority of the traveling public, there will be no detours needed to travel on this bridge on MT 200. The project overall length is around 700 feet, so the delays to the traveling public will be minor. And one other thing I'd like to point out is that we have specified the use of temporary barrier rail. This barrier rail will provide positive separation between the traveling public and the contractors completing the bridge work on the deck. And with that, I would like to hand it off to Pat Wickman to discuss the environmental portion for this presentation.
Thank you, Dan. This is Pat Wickman with Forest Green Associates. So for environmental, as part of any federally funded project, MDT needs to ensure the project is compliant with the National Environmental Policy Act, as well as the Montana Environmental Policy Act. And in doing that process, we add any appropriate environmental considerations into the project design. So for this project, we analyzed potential impacts from replacing the bridge deck, with almost all work constrained to the existing bridge deck and the roadway approaches from each side. We conducted a site investigation to look for potential environmental concerns before preparing an environmental document called a categorical exclusion, which is the typical document used for projects with minimal environmental concerns. The document evaluated project compliance with the categories listed on the screen. These include Endangered Species Act, Migratory Bird Treaty Act, how to safely work in bear habitat, and also deal with wildlife crossings. Furthermore, we tested the concrete on the bridge for asbestos and lead paint, paint on the bridge for lead, which came back minimal. So no significant impacts were identified, and the environmental document for the project was approved back in March 2022. I think that covers the environmental component. I'll turn the slides over to Ben to talk about the next steps.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. So as we discussed earlier in the presentation, we're in the final design phase of the project. The current schedule suggests that the earliest construction would occur in 2025. However, this is dependent on the availability of funding, and scheduling for construction will be done once final plans are complete. Once we do let the project for bid and a contractor is selected, MDT will provide additional notifications and outreach to inform the public about construction. I will turn it back over to Brandon Coates now.
And I was muted. Thank you all for participating in the development of this project. I was going to remind you that about the Q&A button that you can select and ask questions, but given the number of attendees that we have participating, I can go ahead and provide you with a mic if you would like to ask questions as well. So I'll do that here in just a moment, if you want to hold your questions. But one thing I'd like to also let you know is that, keeping the public informed throughout this project is a priority for MDT, and the public input that we collect as part of this online meeting and the meeting this afternoon will also be considered in the final development and the design and planning for construction. We're planning to use a variety of methods to communicate with the public during construction, and some of those methods might include like online and in-person meetings, mailers, the news media, social media, and then email and text message updates, as well as updates onto the project website. As Ben mentioned earlier, MDT will provide the information and outreach about construction once the project has been funded and scheduled. If you have any comments or questions at any time between now and construction or even during construction, please feel free to contact me. I am the initial point of contact to get those questions answered. My contact information is on the slide now and can also be found on the project website. And for those that may be joining by phone, my name is Brandon Coates and my phone number is 406-465-3350. And my email is Brandon, BRANDON @rbci.net. And with that, we are going to go ahead and open it up to questions. And I am going to provide you with the ability to use a microphone if you would like to. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one, or you can feel free to submit it through the Q&A written as well. So it looks like maybe we have a question coming in from Bill. And Bill, would you like to use your mic or?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I was just curious on the, like ambulance or fire, are they going to be able to get through, not have to stop and wait for your stoplight? Is there something in place for that?
So this is Bob, and not only am I currently the district administrator, but I have 20 plus years in construction. And great question, Bill, appreciate it. One of the things that we're still looking at is if we'll have smart traffic signals or if there'll be a standard time signal. The good news on the project is it's a really short work zone area, can be able to see most likely from end to end at all times. So the ambulances, if they get there and there's somebody coming at them, the ambulance will have to wait. If there's nobody approaching them from the other side, they'll be able to, just like any signal, they'll be able to go through it. If there are smart signals, there may be the possibility to have it so they can trigger it in advance. But we're still kind of weighing the options. And when I say a smart signal, it's a signal that has some kind of traffic detection, so that if you pull up there and there's nobody coming, the signal will trigger pretty quickly versus standard signals that are just set up on a timer that they rotate every X number of minutes back and forth. So hope that answered your question though, Bill. Again, thanks.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure it was on everybody's radar. So
Absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. And any other questions that might be out there? Andy, have we had any other written questions come in that need answered?
No, it doesn't look like so far, Brandon. So yeah, if anyone does have a written question, if you just hit that little Q&A button at the bottom, that will pull up a screen where you can type that in and it will come to us. So we'll give just a minute here if anybody does have a question, and otherwise you can also hit the microphone if you would rather ask verbally.
say, this is Bill. Am I still on there?
You are, Bill.
My other question was, what time of year are you looking at doing this project?
This is Brent Schiller with Forsgren Associates. So we anticipate this will probably take close to a full construction season to do with the phasing, but that is really dependent on a few factors. Obviously, getting it bid early. If it doesn't get bid early, it could go into a second season. Also, there have been some supply chain issues that have delayed construction, so that's another thing that could take it into a season. But if optimally, we'd like to bid it early and get going right in the spring. So
okay, I just think because we'll definitely have school buses that go through that area, and those
Yep.
kind of things to deal with. So Is there going to be a load limit put on or just a width limit?
Just a width limit. I think the narrowest it'll be is 11 foot. We did, when we're taking the bridge apart, we did analyze it when it's part of the deck's removed to make sure it didn't need to be posted for a certain load. So it does not need to be posted. So.
Okay. So my thought is if we have, my other thought, I guess, is if we have a fire season, we need to get, heavy equipment that might exceed that 11 or 12 feet. How are we going to get those through? Or around or?
Yeah, there's going to be for that or any other oversized equipment, there's going to be definitely a PR campaign, I guess, or a public information campaign to make sure people are aware. And then if there's an oversized vehicle that the 11 foot wouldn't work for, we'll have to set up have them do a detour route.
Okay. Okay.
Bill, I have a follow-up question for you. Does the county have some over width fire equipment that they routinely use?
The county doesn't, because we don't really have any heavy equipment to do. It would just be if if we have a fire team and have to order in some of the, feller bunchers and stuff like that, they would be pushing that width. So.
Yeah, Bill, this is Bob, and I think the best thing we can do with a situation like that is as things are coming up early and often contact. Obviously, you have at this point, Brandon's the right person, but as we get closer to construction, we'll be having a pretty aggressive outreach campaign. And Brandon likely will be keeping you up to date as we're getting closer and closer to what construction is going to look like. But then we'll have contacts. So there's a few, depends on where we are in the construction, what that looks like. Sometimes equipment can be wider if it's tall enough to overhang the barriers and stuff, and we can make that work. It's just going to be for kind of a emergency situation type thing like that. We will do everything we can to help coordinate with you and make it as painless as possible. But we do recognize the detour. If you're staying on a paved detour, it's a long way around.
Yeah, it is the long way around.
So it's similar to what we went through pretty recently up at the
Trout Creek Bridge. Yep. All right, sounds good.
And Bill, if you have any other questions come up, or any of your staff or anybody has some questions, feel free to email those to me, and I'll make sure to get them to the project team, get your answers for you.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions out there? Haven't seen any come in, so maybe we give it another minute here and see if any come in on the written, or anybody wants to unmic and let us know. And if not, then we'll go ahead and end the meeting a little early. Andy, have you had any other questions come in, written questions?
Doesn't look like so far, Brandon. No.
Okay. Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and do please pass the information along to anybody that you think might benefit by attending the 6 p.m. presentation. We'll present the same information. And like I said, these will be recorded. We'll put them on the project website under the public involvement section, and they'll probably be there mid next week, I believe. So, and with that, I think we will adjourn. So Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.